day with mixed emotions here in Canada on a day where things are starting to get very interesting. We are back here on the World Cupdate. I'm Boris, and I am joined this day by Phil.
Help, I live here, but I can't get out.
How's it going, Phil?
I'm doing well, thanks. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. Couple days off. Apologies there, but I think people who know us, who know me, knew that this weekend was going to be a crapshoot. But I was fine. Just Friday, I didn't really have a voice. It was so raspy, and I'm like, oh, this is not good. But that was that. Overall, felt fine. Yesterday, spent the day with friends. You had quite an interesting weekend as well.
Yeah, well, it's I lost my voice as well, so I apologize to everybody because I know we made this commitment, but sometimes things just don't work out. And yeah, I just had a fun excursion with my stomach this evening, but hey, didn't kill me, only made me stronger.
Made your colon stronger, that's for sure.
Well, pretty much, yeah. But
all right. So
thank goodness for the brand new toilet seat.
There you go. So we missed a couple days. We're going to be talking about everything that happened on Friday and yesterday. We're going to be getting to today's games as well. But yeah, it's been a crazy few days. All right. Mm-hmm. So Brazil.
I'll give you an example though, just before we break into results. My father has been watching more soccer than he watches TFC because I watch TFC. And something that's happened here is through repeated exposure to this sport, he's starting to like it. And the thing that blew me away was Friday, being the big American holiday where all the sports teams are playing Friday afternoon, including our beloved Toronto Maple Leafs versus the Minnesota Wild. It was on at 2 p.m, right against USA versus England. And my dad, I went downstairs, and I'm like, the Leaf game's on. And he goes, I know. And I go, why are you watching US versus England? And he says, I want to know how this ends. I'm more interested in this than I am the Leafs. And I'm just like, well, up is down, black is white. I don't know what's going on in this world anymore. Because my dad is watching soccer.
The unfortunate part there is that, and we'll get to that in a minute, but that was like the absolute worst game that anyone could be exposed to.
No, but he was into it, man.
Good.
Every time I go downstairs, he's got more World Cup on, or as much as I do. Amazing. And he's telling me things, and I'm just like, who is this man, and where is my father? It's just the most bizarre thing I've ever seen. He's enjoying it, and I'm glad. That's the one magical thing about the World Cup, is that casual soccer fans become passionate soccer fans, and I love that about it. People get entrenched with their country, excited for the results, and yeah, it's just fun to see it catching on here in Canada more and more.
Yep.
That being said, that it's a great time for the sport, and I'm looking forward to the future. And we'll even have news about possible things happening in the MLS with some big players too.
Yeah, very, very big things. Couple Canadians and Americans getting some eyes on them. Good for them. Very good for them.
Yep.
All right, let's get through some news, and then we'll get kind of through the results, blow through them, and take things from there. All right, so unfortunate news. Riot police were called to deploy tear gas and disperse a crowd in the streets of Brussels and in the Netherlands following Morocco's stunning 2-0 win over Belgium on Sunday. There are additional reports of smaller distribution in other Belgian cities, Antwerp and Liège. So that's the very unfortunate part right there.
Yeah, that's the ugly side of the sport. And I understand it's easy to get carried away with results, but yeah, you gotta stay safe. Like you gotta do that stuff within a proportional and proper response, not
Yeah.
this bullshit.
Yeah, exactly. All right, so the U.S. men's national team, they are preparing for a win or go home clash with Iran on Tuesday. But here's kind of the some of the talk in the locker room. It involves some of their players, similar to Canada, like I mentioned earlier. They are getting a lot of eyes on them, but there seems to be a lot of eyes on the U.S. star Christian Pulisic. Apparently, many teams have approached him, including our team, Manchester United, and it looks like they're going to allow him to leave in the January transfer window.
Crazy stuff, and I don't know if that's a good idea for him in terms of going to United, but hey, he is a good player. I have seen him before at playing for Chelsea, and I didn't really realize that he was American, to be honest, so good on him. I've never really clocked him on the American national team and put two and two together. So.
Right. Yeah, sometimes, it happens. So, it's interesting. Okay, so Pulisic's like 24, right? And then we've talked about Jonathan Osorio many times, and he's 29, right? Like, that's the one thing that I've always said that's going against Osorio, right? So, that's why I can see him staying in Canada or in TFC. At least MLS.
I think he's going to move on. I think that he's going to move on to a team, but I think he's going to suffer the same experience as a Richie Larea.
Yes.
In the sense that he's going to have dreams of getting onto a bigger European club. And really what's going to end up happening is he does a lot of working out and bench work, which isn't bad, like riding the pine. I think Richie Larea is a better player for his experience, and he's one of the first guys to say that himself. But all that being said, I think he's past his prime. I think that a move that if he's going to make it outside of the MLS is going to be about getting a paycheck, and I can't blame him for that.
Exactly.
And, he might become a better player as a result, too. But his time is ticking. He's only got, probably about 5 or 6 years left on that clock, if that. And unfortunately, with that neurological disorder that he seems to have come down with, I don't know the extent to that. And I just worry about him as a person when it comes to that.
Yep.
Nothing but love for him. He's done great for our city and our club and our country. But I wish him the best in whatever he ends up doing. But I just can't see him returning on TFC.
Agreed, 100%. All right, moving on. So, someone who will probably have European future going from the MLS, Alistair Johnson, who plays his club football with CF Montreal. He is most likely on his way to Europe. There seem to be a lot of eyes on him, especially after his performance last week against Belgium. I bet you there's a lot of eyes on him tonight. What do you think of that?
Yeah. He actually grew up in the town right next to me, Aurora, Ontario.
Yep.
And I just got to applaud the guy in the sense that he came really out of nowhere. And he got on to CF Montreal. He got his call up, and he's made a name for himself. And again, another guy that I just want to see succeed. I think he would do well in Celtic. I think he would do well playing that type of game because, to me, to go to a Scottish team from MLS side is a very natural fit because they both play physical games. And they both are hard-nosed, both leagues are hard-nosed. So he's a small guy, but good for him. I think he's going to be a better player for it. And
at least he didn't do a check signing symbol in the air before he decided to move to Celtic.
Correct. It was a welcome change with Celtic in the mix.
13-year-old reference for the win right there.
Well, at least I won't be getting a lawyer speaking to me about inappropriate placement of myself in the team dressing room for that one.
Yep. That was always a fun chat. All right. Brazil Are they going to be okay in case Neymar doesn't play their next game? Their second Group G game is going to happen against Switzerland. And there is growing concern that Neymar will not be part of that because of his injured ankle. Are they going to be okay? Is this a sign of the future?
I'm okay with it. I think Brazil are deep. Like, and what, he got fouled 9 times.
Yeah.
In that first game. Like, we just can't have this happening in the sport. Like, I get wanting to be competitive. I get wanting to send a message. But just concentrating on a player to the point where he's injured is kind of sad. But I think it's the one team that's going to be like, okay, Neymar, just take a break and hold this guy's beer. Yep. Whoever comes in and spots in for him, I think they're that talented. Yeah. But I don't think that it's going to. I just think it's a black eye for the superstars of the leagues of the teams, but it's not going to be even a speed bump for Brazil.
Agreed. And the same can be said about Uruguay. There's a lot of more articles that I'm reading throughout the past few days. Yes, I've been keeping up with news. Mentioning about, hey, should Suarez be benched? Should we think about the future?
Yeah, you got to move on, right? Like, you got to think about a world without some of these staples because they don't last forever. Like, you got to bring in the next wave of players. You got to inspire them and then give them time to work with the older players and learn.
Exactly.
And that's the only way you're going to do this.
Exactly. And then, a lot of teams, what happens, unfortunately, this happened to Spain. This has happened to France. This happened to Italy. It's happening to Germany in real time, et cetera, et cetera. And they do a full kind of like turn of the page and get a brand new team. And they end up missing a tournament or two.
Yeah, they struggle in the group stages. They do. They have a national football crisis. But it's to be expected when you have to wholesale change stuff like that.
Yeah,
it's not always pleasant.
Oh no, not always. All right, so this is what we're gonna do. That's all the real.
Well, I'm gonna say one thing here that came out tonight on TSN. Yeah. One little bit of news, and we've seen this before, but it's now being reported on the news instead of the football rags. And it looks imminent that at the end of the 2023 season, Lionel Messi will be joining Inter Miami in the MLS and gaining partial ownership of either that club or a club within the MLS as a sweetener on the deal. Similar to the David Beckham.
Similar to Ronaldo's future contract.
Yeah, I wouldn't be shocked if that is.
And you imagine a day, a possibility. Can Beckham pull off the impossible? And you know exactly where I'm going with this. I can see it in your face. Our listeners, I can see it in all your faces too. Can you imagine a day? Is it possible? Can David Beckham pull off the impossible and get Lionel Messi and Cristiano Ronaldo both in CF Montreal? Or it's not CF Montreal, Miami.
In Miami. But still, like, just imagine extrapolating that one more step and go, can you imagine the day when David Beckham's Inter Miami is playing Ronaldo's Las Vegas Knights, or Las Vegas Galacticos versus Messi's Argentinian soldiers from ex-North American city.
Yep.
Because you know that it would go something like that. And it would be nothing about the cities and the fact that the owners are battling.
Yep.
And the different colors and the caricatures in the newspapers and I just cringe to think about that. Like, cringe in a good way, I guess, but
I cringe because this MLS has to be very careful, right? This is what happened to the NASL. They brought a lot of older players, and we all know what happens there, right? Your league gets dubbed the retirement league, and that's essentially the end of your league, and that was the end of the NASL at the time. MLS has struggled with this constantly, right? And I think that we've had a very good wave of bringing in big name players in their prime. And then there have been your Sebastian Giovencos, who come out of nowhere almost to surprise your league. You know, it's that balancing act that I find that MLS really needs to be careful with, because as good as it could be from a PR optics point of view of getting these big names on your league, right? Like, do you remember the Gerrard experiment?
Yep. Oh, goodness. How many times? But again, the classic mistake by these big name players is that they're going to come here and it's going to be a retirement league. And then they get here and guess what? It's not. It's physical. Yeah. It's in your face. You have to work hard. Like TFC.
Willem Dafoe.
Dafoe. Exactly. Crescito, our newest player, one of our newest players from Italy, played half a season with us and said, no, I'm hanging him up.
Yeah.
And he's already on the end of his career. We knew that, but it's just, he's just like, no, I can guarantee you the conversation is, this is way more hard work than it was in Italy.
We have talked to players, and that's a constant thing. It's, this league is a lot more physical. I'm taking an ass kicking in a game, and then you expect me to fly 5,000 kilometers for the next game midweek.
Yeah. And be in a time zone that's 3 hours different, and just, it's an ask, man. It's not like Europe and whatnot where you can just jet out for a Champions League game on a Tuesday or a Wednesday in another country and still be just an hour difference, a short plane ride or whatever, right? Like this is a big time thing that's physically demanding, and the game itself, the players don't play a respectful football minded game. They play a physical, hard-working, demanding game that's going to result in a lot more injuries and fitness issues.
Yeah, the MLS style is this weird mixture of Americans and Canadians who grew up playing FIFA and thinking slide tackles is beautiful, having less form, for lack of a better term, and mixed in with that Mexican, I'm going to take a bite out of your leg if I can't get you, right? Like, yeah, it's a very demanding,
we learned that
physical style in the MLS that some Europeans can't adapt to.
Yeah, we learned that from Mexico and other countries. Like, it's,
and as the MLS pays, because the MLS actually pays their players. The MLS has a structure that is nice to South American and Mexican players. So this is what I've always wanted for the MLS. And it's becoming the destination for the Americas, right? Like, that's what the MLS is turning into. So, as we're getting more players from other countries, you're mixing in all these different styles of the North American and South American game. And some Europeans can deal with this style once a month every 4 years, but they can't deal with it 6 months, 7 months, 8 months out of the year.
Yeah, it's a tough league. It really is. But the people who thrive are strong.
Yes,
that's your end result, and that's something I think that the North American fan really respects, and especially, I'm not going to say uniquely Canadian. I think they respect it in all the markets, but I think that the players figure out pretty quickly here in at least in Toronto and probably Canada overall, we don't put up with the theatrics.
No,
in the stands, and that's a very important thing to shed.
And I think
when you get here,
agreed. And I think that's a player like Richie Laria. He learned very quickly that we don't tolerate that, because he was not a liked player when he came and started with us.
Yep, and he earned every bit of his dues.
Yes,
the hard way. So credit where credit's due on that front, because
it's why a lot of people forget. But back after we won the MLS Cup in 2017, 18 was a disastrous year. But a lot of people were starting to turn on Sebastian Giovenco because he started going to those tactics.
Yeah, he did that, and he also was missing, a lot of games due to injury, and it certainly looked like his heart wasn't in it. And the persistent rumors all the way through the last half of the season that he just wanted to get out and was, signing a fat contract. As much as we all love the guy and we continue to love him in that sense of what he achieved.
Yep.
I when I heard the news about him possibly wanting to get onto the roster this year, I was lukewarm at best about it, because it's like you walked out on the team once and you don't get to come back for glory at that point. Like, exactly. It's a very rare thing. Like, you look at what Daniil Henry had to do to come back here and whatnot. He went on a journey, and Javenko, to me, didn't really go on that journey, but he'll forever have my respect as far as what he accomplished and what he did for our city and our club.
Yep, exactly. All right, let's talk some results. Friday, November 25th was a very interesting day. A lot of stuff going on. It all started with Iran beating Wales 2-0. To further my point that I feel like the winner of that group and the runner-up of that group are the teams that beat up Wales the most and second most. Because everyone else seems to be beating themselves up, right? Like, it's all so even, except for when you face Wales.
Yeah. Wales is really the whipping boy of the group. But I think there's going to be one team that doesn't make it that's going to feel very hard done by. Yep.
Second game, saw Senegal beating Qatar 3-1, officially eliminating Qatar from the 2022 World Cup. I don't have anything else to say.
No, it's a lot. We all knew it was going to happen. and good on anybody who's in Qatar who lives there. And we get it. You spend a lot of money on it, and you got your team in there. So
let's move on. Good for you guys. Netherlands and Ecuador came to a 1-1 draw.
Yeah, that's a shocker.
Yeah,
I was a little bit taken aback by that when I saw Ecuador score, and good on them. Netherlands looks rusty, like we were talking about these teams that have to do these rebuilds and whatnot. Netherlands are they've got a lot of youth, and they've got some injuries that they're dealing with, and they're doing their best, but they're struggling a little bit.
Yep. And then the main event, which was possibly the worst football game that anyone could watch. It was like your stereotypical reason why I don't like soccer argument, and it was probably the biggest game for the U.S. in terms of an audience possible, with it being Black Friday. Yes, there was a lot of sports competition that day, but let's be honest, World Cup and Fox are getting enough eyes on and marketing machine behind them that they're getting new eyes on the game. But unfortunately, people had to watch this England-U.S. game on Friday that ended in a 0-0 draw.
Yeah, it was. I liked some of the pace that I saw in it, but overall, lack of goals is a tough sell. Sometimes you can have a great game with no goals. It's not as frequent as a lot of other. Yeah, it was boring. I can't argue it.
Yep. All right.
I can't find the silver lining on that one. I was
exactly.
disappointed.
You're trying so hard.
I was disappointed in the States.
Did you notice I just stopped paying attention?
Yeah.
All right.
Damn it.
That was Friday. Let's talk about yesterday's game. The Socceroos of Australia beat Tunisia 1-0.
I'm not shocked by that. I'm happy. I'm happy Australia got a W, and it makes for a spicy sausage.
In a game that had a lot of repercussions for the final game of the day, Poland beat Saudi Arabia 2-0.
Yeah, that after Saudi Arabia did Argentina in, they're just like, screw it.
Yeah, I'll take my.
We had a national holiday already.
What car did the one of the princes give each player?
I don't know. I didn't hear about that.
Yeah, apparently every player got gifted some like high-end luxury car.
Wow. Well, good for them.
And I bet you they all had to return it after that game.
Then they shit the bed.
Yeah, but that's the thing, right? Like, this is the issue with upsets, is people forget that there's still a lot more tournament to go through. And I'm not saying that, like, don't celebrate it. Sometimes that's a huge accomplishment for your team, but there's still a lot of games left, right?
Yeah. Look, if we would have beat Belgium that first game, I think at that point, expectations, like the fact that we even showed up created expectations on our national team side.
Yep.
The fact that we only lost by 1 goal, the fact that we were hard done by the ref, the fact that all this stuff just made for this incredible energy leading into today. But you have to also realize that without those early wins, you're screwing yourself later in the tournament because you're putting a lot of pressure on yourself. But this is the exact opposite of that with Saudi Arabia, because they got that win that they never expected to get. And now I just feel like they've shot their load. Like, they're just like, we're done.
Skirplot. All right. France beat Denmark 2-1.
Oh, France beat Denmark 2-1. No,
You shouldn't be shocked.
I'm surprised. I'm not shocked by this at all. Mbappe, both goals, I believe, and it was nice because like they said on the broadcast that we watch here in Canada on TSN, Kevin Kilbane was sitting there going, he said at the half, apparently off camera, that he thinks even though Mbappe has been completely invisible in the first half, he's like, he's probably going to score 2 goals in the second half. And sure enough, he did. And they're all just sitting there like, who the hell are you? Because they're like, he's player of the match. And in the first half, we didn't even see him. Like, and he's that prolific of a scorer. France, yeah. And at least they tried getting a goal and making it close.
Go
entertaining
effort.
Game. Mm-hmm.
Argentina kept their World Cup campaign alive by beating Mexico 2-0.
I'm not shocked by that, but I'm glad that Argentina got their stuff together, and Messi scored. To me, I like goals like that, where they're long distance aimed, and he is just his pacing and ability to stop on the ball, then put a shot in with such accuracy and power from so far away. Those are good goals for me. I like them a lot. I'm happy with that result.
Yep.
Anytime Mexico loses, I'm a little piece of me smiles, but that's not good for you. I know. They're one of your teams, I know, but it's just the CONCACAF in me. I know, it's just the CONCACAF in me, right? It's just Mexico are always this bigger than life entity that thinks that they can compete on the world stage, and they have. I'm not saying that they can't or anything.
Yep.
I'm just saying, like, it's just this air of superiority, and when they get taken down a peg, it's kind of humbling for them, but it'll only make them stronger in the end, really, too. So,
yeah, for sure. All right, so that was that. Let's talk about today's games. We're going to go in a different order than the game stuff happened for obvious reasons. So we're going to start the day with the first game of the day, funny enough. That was Japan, Costa Rica, which was a very 50-50 game. It was a kind of a boring game. No team wanted to take that chance, in my opinion, up until the 80th minute when Costa Rica scored. Fuller is the man to find the back of the net with a beautiful curler from near the edge of the box to give Costa Rica the lead 1-0. That's how the game ended.
Yeah, kind of shocking, to be honest.
Same, considering how well Japan played. And this is another example, right, of like similar to Saudi Arabia, is, okay, you got your win, but you're still parking the bus. 3 points is not going to be enough. You needed to find and play with that same intensity that you did the day before. And I think, this is my most humble opinion, I believe that this is the difference between Saudi Arabia, Japan, and Canada. Canada played, at least for the first part, with that same intensity, but then they just got tired, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. But I just wanted to bring that up real quick, is that, like, I feel like Japan kind of parked the bus and expected the best. I felt like, they were still riding the wave and riding high on beating Germany a few days ago, and, they just got caught, and that's that. So here's something funny that happened as I line and I get Phil ready to answer that. Everything goes, just freezes up on us, and he sends me a message. Well, power is out. So that's that. I'll finish the show alone there. We were talking about Costa Rica and Japan, so that was that. We're going to jump to the Belgium-Morocco game from earlier today. Belgium, what did I tell you they were? Nothing but frauds, and that fraud status continued to show today because you tell me how you can go 64.7% possession to 35.3% possession at the 70th minute mark and still end up losing. So at the 73rd minute, Morocco are ahead. Substitutions were made. A corner is won on the left side, and Sabiri, who was recently brought on, curls in a lovely attempt at the far post, which beat Courtois, and that was that. Morocco is in the lead by 1-0. But that's not all. Lukaku was brought on late in the game in the 82nd minute. They're really, Belgium at this point, really looking for a goal, really wanting everything to happen. 5 minutes of stoppage time was added, but that gave Morocco enough time to score a second goal, and it was Moroccan mayhem at Al Thumama. Ziyech has been constant nuisance for Belgium, and he makes a valuable assist as his run into the box leaves him pushed to the outside right. He spots Abu Khalal lurking not too far from the near post. The forward receives it from Ziyech and shoots right into the top corner of the net to send the Moroccan fans in absolute delirium in Qatar as Morocco goes up 2-0. Fraud status confirmed on Belgium right there. All right, we're going to go to the next game of the day, but like I said, we're going to change up the order. I want to talk about Germany versus Spain. Germany's World Cup hopes are continuing after a draw versus Spain. So the first goal came in the 62nd minute as Morata Martin got a goal in the 62nd minute, and then Fulkrug in the 83rd minute tied it up. Spain was just forgetting how to play near the end. Germany was really pushing. That at the end of the day was the difference maker. Possession was all Spain at 64.1% possession versus Germany's 35.9% possession. It was crazy. 3 shots on target for Spain to Germany's 4. 5 offsides for Germany to Spain's 2. As you can see just by those stat lines, Germany was a pushing. So Germany, their campaign continues. Now, let's talk about Canada. I really wish Phil was on to talk about this, but it is what it is. I'll kind of just quickly go through this, give you my thoughts. So, there was a lot of pressure on Canada. The media was getting involved because John Herdman's "will F Croatia" comment. Croatia responded by having an unflattering picture of John Herdman, and basically saying, "Do you guys actually have balls?" I'm just summarizing stuff. Then our beloved Toronto Sun responded by saying, "Our balls are bigger." Just, and I know that there is a partial media blackout on players, right? Like, they don't know exactly what's going on outside of what their family is telling them, but they obviously hear about the big stuff. The question I was going to ask Phil is, do you think that this motivates players? I can't see how it doesn't. I can't see how seeing a war of words on the outside doesn't help motivate you on the pitch, right? Like, I'm sure that all your preparation is the same. Everything is the same. Nothing changes. But there's just that, like, small little switch that turns on that intensifies the intensity just a little bit. So there was a lot of eyes on this game. A lot of pressure for both teams. This group was split wide open with Morocco beating Belgium and taking the lead in the group. But it was none other than Alphonso Davies to break Canada's World Cup duck, as Alphonso Davies made history by scoring Canada's first ever World Cup goal, and this came in the 2nd minute. The first 20 minutes for Canada looking absolutely marvelous. Absolutely marvelous. They were playing with that intensity that they had. They were playing the exact same way that they were playing against Belgium. But that all quickly changed in the 37th minute as Kramaric puts his side level with a neat left-footed finish from a tight angle. Not chalked off, not taken back. Croatia won, Canada won. This is when things started unraveling. In the 44th minute, Marko Livaja puts his side in front with a strike into the bottom corner. From distance, Croatia is showing why they're the team that reached the last time's World Cup. They're getting so dominant at this point. I have friends who were at this game who were just saying how much of a marvel it is to see Croatia's midfield at play, and that's honestly what Croatia prides itself on. It's their midfield, led by Luka Modric, right? Like, this guy is a beast, and he continues to show why he's a beast. Coming into the second half, it looks like Herdman switched things to a back four. He moved Davies further up the pitch where he can hurt Croatia more. It pays dividends straight away because he got Osorio got a nice kick to begin the second half. But there was one major change that became noticed from a lot of supporters, myself, and I wonder if Phil noticed this as well. That's Atiba Hutchison. By the beginning of the second half, Atiba just looked out of place. He looked like he couldn't keep up. He just looked tired. And I believe that Jonathan Herdman should have substituted Atiba Hutchison at this point. I really do think that was the difference maker. And between that and just the mental preparedness of Croatia versus Canada's lack thereof in experience, that was the difference maker. And that really showed here on the pitch, because in the 71st minute, Kramaric gets his second goal. Persic swings in a peach, and Kramaric just tapped it in. 3-1 at this point, and Croatia continues to push and push and push until the 94th minute, where Lovro Majer adds to Croatia's goal count and makes it 4-1. That's how the game ended. Really tough beat for Canada. Expected when you really think about it. This is a Croatian team that was second place. Lost to eventual champions France in the World Cup finals back in 2018. They are a good team. They had that extra motivation from all the media chat, and they are just a more prepared World Cup team overall. Not to say that Canada can't be there. Not to say that Canada doesn't belong to be there, but they just got outplayed. Jonathan Herdman got out-coached, and the team just looked tired in that second half. Certain changes weren't made, like Atiba Hutchison, in my opinion. I just feel like the mental game got to Canada, and that was that. Canada officially eliminated from the World Cup. But the reality is this. I don't believe that this is all bad things. No, like Phil said, he said it best in our preview show, and we said it many times. Canada scoring was a goal, right? That was a huge, just pressure off everyone's back. Now, there's one more game. Let's remember that. Yeah, we're eliminated, but let's play for pride, boys. Let's play for the country. Let's remind everyone that we do belong in the World Cup, and let's go in there against Morocco and get that W. If we can get that W against Morocco and finish with 3 points, I will be a happy camper, and that is all I ask for. That was, the past few days. We're going to be back giving you daily podcasts. On behalf of Phil and myself, stay tranquilo.